Copperfield Farm, psychological horror story with heavy suspense, mystery, and dread. I answered the listing because I needed the money. Farmhand wanted isolated property, light animal care, room and board included. Seemed like easy work. I just lost my apartment, and the ad promised $600 a week in cash. It felt too good to be true. I should have known it was. When I arrived, the farmer, a man in his late 60s named Vernon, barely looked me in the eye. He gave me a rusty key, pointed toward the guest cabin by the barn, and said, "Just feed them at dawn and dusk. Don't touch the fence. Don't name them." That last part, I thought he was joking. He wasn't. The animals were wrong. Not at first. They looked like animals. Sheep, goats, a few cows. But they watched me. Like, really watched me. Their eyes didn't follow like pets. They tracked, calculated. One of the goats mimicked the sound of my cough. A cow walked around the pasture in perfect sync with my steps along the fence, like a mirror. And every morning, they were standing in exactly the same spots. Exactly. By day 3, I realized something awful. The animals weren't eating. The food I poured into their troughs disappeared by morning, but they never moved while I watched. I even set up my phone to record overnight. The next morning, the phone was gone, and taped to the inside of my cabin door was a note, written in neat block letters. No filming, no names, no questions. The 4th night, I didn't sleep. Something kept pacing outside the cabin. Hooves, but too many, too fast. I stared at the ceiling, the boards above me creaking as if something heavy was crawling across the roof. At 3:12 a.m. exactly, I heard a knock at the door. One knock, then nothing. When I finally opened it at sunrise, no one was there, except for another note pinned to the door frame with a splinter of bone. "You named the goat. He likes it now." I had, 2 days ago, half as a joke, called him Simon. Now, the others wouldn't go near him. On the 5th morning, I found Vernon sitting on the porch, cradling a coffee cup and looking pale. "You fed them too close to midnight," he said. His hands were shaking. "I just overslept," I muttered. He didn't blink. "They change near midnight, always have. Don't make them remember who they were." That night, Simon stood outside my cabin, perfectly still, staring at me through the glass, not moving, not blinking. I turned out the light. When I turned it back on a minute later, he was gone. And inside the room, just under the window, lay a pile of pebbles, spelling my name. Vernon told me the truth, or at least his truth. He'd inherited the land from his father. No one in town came near it. There were rumors about disappearances in the 50s, strange lights, echoes in the cornfields. He said the animals weren't his. They found the place. They wear the shapes. If you treat them like animals, they act like it. But names? He looked at me. "You name one, you're giving it a door." I told him I was leaving. He didn't stop me, but I couldn't. My truck wouldn't start. GPS was dead. Even the road back toward town was gone. Just a line of fencing that hadn't been there the day before. When I turned around, all the animals were in the field, standing still, facing me, including Simon. Except he wasn't a goat anymore. He stood on 2 legs, head cocked to one side, smiling, with human teeth. I ran back to the cabin, locked the door, pushed the dresser against it. I could hear hooves circling all night, then tapping. 5 taps, in a rhythm, like Morse code. I recorded it and played it back the next morning. The pattern matched a word: stay. By day 7, I couldn't tell if I was awake. The animals began to change more quickly. Their eyes followed me like cameras. One of the cows repeated something Vernon had said, word for word in his voice. Vernon was gone now, cabin empty, no sign of struggle, just a mirror shattered on his bed, and on the wall, smeared in dark brown, "We're tired of waiting." I dreamed of the barn, of waking up tied in the center, the animals in a circle, whispering in recognition. And I could feel something give way inside me, like a latch being opened. I started hearing new voices, from the trees, from the static on the radio. from inside the water pipes, all saying, "Tell the story." So I did. I wrote everything. But the ink wouldn't dry. The words shimmered, moved. Then I heard footsteps on the porch. Simon? No, me. I opened the door and there I was. Same clothes, same wound, same stare. Only difference? He wasn't breathing. And he whispered, "One of us has to leave. The other has to stay and tell it again." That's when I realized this place doesn't feed on people. It feeds on the story, on the retelling. Every time someone reads it, it gets stronger. It reaches further, through screens, through signals. Now you're here, you've read it, and somewhere right now, something knows your name. Maybe you whispered it while reading. Maybe you just thought it. But it's enough. It's listening now. You might hear it tonight. A knock, hoofsteps, laughter that sounds almost like yours. Don't open the door. And whatever you do, don't tell anyone what you read. That's how it spreads. Whispers in the Barn. A psychological horror story set on an isolated farm with a chilling secret. It started with the silence, the kind that hums behind your ears, the kind that makes you feel like you're underwater. No birds, no dogs, no insects. Just hooves, slow, wet hooves on damp earth. I hadn't even wanted the job, but when a man offers a week's cash in advance just for feeding animals and keeping the barn in order, you take it. Especially if your car is running on fumes and your motel checkout is in 30 minutes. "You don't need to do much," the man said, eyes hidden beneath the shadow of a wide-brim hat. "Feed them, keep the barn quiet, walk the line, and don't break the rhythm." I laughed. He didn't. The first 2 days were uneventful. I woke at dawn, dragged a rusted feed cart with one squealing wheel down the center aisle of the barn, and shoveled pellets into the wooden troughs. Left side, right side, step, step, stop, feed. The same rhythm always. The animals, cows, goats, sheep, something I couldn't quite name, stared at me the whole time. Not with curiosity, not with hunger, with stillness. They didn't move. Not even when I passed close. Just stared. I asked about the silence. "There used to be birds," I said. The man just shrugged. "They don't come around here no more. Not since the mirror cracked." I didn't know what he meant. Later that night I found it. An old standing mirror covered by a black cloth in the tool shed. The glass was spider-webbed with cracks, like something had hit it hard. From the inside, I covered it back. That night I heard movement in the barn. Not just pacing, dragging. I grabbed the flashlight and went out. The animals were still in their stalls, but the feed cart was back at the entrance. I was sure I had parked it at the far end after the evening rounds. On the handle was a smear of something dark, and at the bottom of the empty troughs, something was scratched into the wood, a symbol I didn't recognize. A circle, a slit through the center, and a spiral within. Day 4, the cows began humming. Not mooing, not groaning, humming. The same tone, over and over, in perfect harmony. Always when I entered the barn, always stopping exactly when I left. By day 5, I stopped sleeping. The dreams were too vivid. A field of black grass, a man with no eyes leading animals with human hands. I'd wake up with my fingers stained and feet muddy, even though I hadn't left my cot. I tried to call the man who hired me. The number no longer existed. The next evening, the sheep refused to eat. They stood as usual, motionless, but their mouths hung open. No sound, no breath. Their tongues had been cut out, perfectly, cleanly. That night I heard the voice again, from deeper in the barn, behind the oldest stall, the one the man said never to open. "You look like him." I stood frozen. My flashlight flickered. The beam landed on the goat. It was smiling, but its eyes weren't animal. They were mine. I ran, straight to the farmhouse, to the tool shed, to the mirror. I yanked the black cloth off. For a split second, I didn't see myself. I saw the barn from above. Dozens of animals below, forming a circle around the feed cart. Something standing in the middle. Something tall, pale, wearing skin too tight. Then the cracks reformed, and I saw my face again. Only now my eyes were missing. I packed that night, tried to leave. The car engine wouldn't turn. GPS spun endlessly. Every road was a loop. I passed the same scarecrow 6 times, its position changing slightly each time. By the 7th, it was pointing at the barn. I went back. I don't know why. Maybe I already knew I was part of it now. Inside the barn, everything was different. The walls breathed. The animals watched from their stalls. But now they were all standing on 2 legs. They didn't move. Not until I stepped forward. Then in perfect synchronization, they stepped back, revealing the end of the aisle, the final stall, the locked one, now open. Inside, there was no animal, just bones and a journal, written in cramped, jagged handwriting, page after page of the same words. Walk the line, feed the eyes, become the rhythm. The last page had a name, my name, and a date, tomorrow's. I woke up this morning and the barn was empty. No animals, no sounds, just the feed cart, waiting, and a note pinned to the wall in black twine. He left, you stayed. Walk the line. So now I feed them. I don't know where they go during the day. I don't ask, but every night they return, with new shapes, new faces. Some I almost recognize. One of them looked like my mother last night. Another, like a photo I saw once in a childhood album. I no longer sleep, because now I hear the rhythm in my breath, my footsteps, the wind in the rafters. It hums behind my ears like it always has. And if I ever break it, even once, they'll walk down the middle instead, and I'll be in the stall, waiting. I should have left when I had the chance. But maybe that was the chance. The animals have been silent for 3 days now, just standing, waiting. There's no more feed, but they don't seem to care anymore. They just stare. When I move, they adjust, always keeping me centered, aligned, like I'm a piece of something larger that hasn't been revealed yet. Last night I found the hatch open, the one above the old stall. It was just gaping. A draft came down, cold, smelling like dust and age and something not alive. I thought about climbing up. I brought the ladder, but when I placed my foot on the first rung, the barn shifted. The whole place. The walls creaked inward. The floor breathed. The troughs all tilted slightly toward the hatch, like the building was watching me, inviting me, or daring me. I didn't go. Not then. This morning there was a new note, folded and nailed to the inside of the stall door. But it wasn't paper. It was skin. Tanned, smoothed, fresh. On it, written in ink I couldn't identify. If you go, you won't come back. If you stay, you already haven't. I didn't feed the animals today, but they didn't move, didn't blink. They just watched as I sat in the center of the aisle and stared at the ceiling, at the open hatch. I think I heard footsteps above me, or maybe it was my own heartbeat. Anyway, I'm writing this now, just in case someone finds it, in case someone else takes this job, in case someone asks questions, because that's how it starts, always. The mirror is back in the barn again, and this time I swear, it winked. The journal ends here. The Fog That Waits, an atmospheric horror story set on a remote rural property where reality begins to unravel. I only agreed to watch the farm because they said it'd be easy. Just feed the animals, keep the generator running, and don't go near the west pasture. They said it like a joke, a weird one. But I needed the money. The farmhouse was old, cold, and full of creaks. The owners left before sunrise, didn't even say goodbye, just left a note. The fog comes early, stay inside once it does. That first night, it rolled in like a wave, not drifting, flowing, like it knew where it was going. And behind it, I thought I heard whispering. By morning, 3 of the sheep were gone. No tracks, no blood, just their collars, neatly laid in a triangle near the barn. I checked the fences. Nothing broken, nothing dug under. But the west pasture, the one I was told to avoid, had fresh hoof prints. Only they didn't come from the barn, they led into it. I found a locked door in the barn floor the next night, covered by a rug, rusted shut. I didn't try to open it, but it knocked from the other side, once, then twice, then silence. The fog came earlier on the 3rd day, barely past noon. It clung to the windows like frost. I stayed inside as told, curtains drawn. But I swear I saw something standing on the other side of the glass. Not moving, just watching. That night, the generator died. I went out with a flashlight, boots sinking into mud. Couldn't see more than a few feet in front of me. The fog was thick and wet, like walking through breath. I heard the bleating of sheep, but none were in the pen, and then a low groan. Not an animal, a voice. Somewhere out in the field it called, "Hello," but not like someone lost, like someone waiting. The next morning, the barn doors were wide open, and every stall was empty, except one, inside a note, scribbled with what looked like mud or blood. "They walk when you sleep." I didn't sleep again. On the 6th night, the fog came inside the house. I sealed every crack, locked every door, but it seeped through anyway. From behind mirrors, under rugs, even from the faucet when I turned it on. The entire house filled with soft, humming moisture. And in the center of the living room, a sheep, standing perfectly still. Its eyes were too wide, and it smiled. I blinked, and it was gone. The west pasture started glowing, just faintly, like moonlight trapped under the ground. I couldn't help it. I walked out. I followed it. The trees were quiet, too quiet. No wind, no rustling. Not even my own footsteps seemed to echo right. Everything was off by a beat, like I was walking through a memory. I reached the center of the pasture. There were stones, arranged in a perfect circle, and in the middle, a pit. I don't remember climbing in, but I do remember the cold. At the bottom, there was a door, old, wood, carved with dozens of tiny names. I found mine, even though I never gave it to them. The fog started pouring into the pit behind me. I opened the door. Inside, a room that looked exactly like the farmhouse, down to the pictures on the wall. Except in every photo, I wasn't alone. There were others, standing next to me, behind me, around me, and their faces were blurred. I turned, the door was gone, just fog. I wandered for what felt like days. Every now and then I'd hear a bell, a deep, old bell, like something being summoned. I began seeing shadows moving ahead of me, and always, always just out of reach. Eventually, I stopped moving. I sat and waited. That's when I heard footsteps. Not behind me, not ahead, above. I looked up, and I swear, I saw sky. The fog parted for a second, and I could see sunlight and birds in blue, and someone, a silhouette, peering down at me through some invisible ceiling. Then it was gone. I don't know how long I've been here now. The fog never lifts, the pasture never ends, and I still hear the sheep at night, even though I haven't seen them in days. I keep finding things. A flashlight I swear I lost a week ago. A scarf I wore as a kid. A toy I never brought with me. Things I buried long ago, in other places, other lives. They say the fog finds you when you're ready to disappear. Not die, not escape, just slip, become something in between. I think that's what happened to the animals, and the owners, and the people before me. And maybe the one watching me through the fog isn't a stranger. Maybe it's, I haven't written in hours, or maybe days. The journal pages repeat now. Some already have my handwriting on them, but I don't remember writing them. One says, do not turn around. Another, you left already, you just don't know it. But the one that shook me the most was simple, stop writing. I don't know how many versions of me are out here now. I've seen 3, maybe 4 shadows that move like I do. They always disappear just as I notice them, like reflections walking ahead of me, waiting for me to catch up or replace them. The fog is changing color. It's no longer just gray. It pulses faint blue sometimes, or red, or green, like a signal, a cycle, like it's resetting. I found the farmhouse again tonight, or one like it. It looked just like it did on the first day. Even the animals were back, except now they weren't staring at me. They were staring past me. I turned to look, but there was nothing there. Not at first, then a shape, still, immense, watching, waiting. I almost opened the door, almost walked in, but something stopped me. Not fear, recognition. So I turned around and walked into the fog instead. Not running, just walking, slowly, like I was going somewhere I had always meant to return to. And maybe that's the end, or maybe it's the beginning, or maybe I never existed at all. Just another story whispered between shadows in the mist. But if you're reading this, if the fog ever finds you, ask yourself, did you come here? Or were you already here all along? The journal ends here. Enjoy the unease? Leave a like, hit subscribe, and we'll keep digging up the things they tried to forget.